came to be a part of the gold medal crew in '96 at Atlanta?
Well, I was one of the few athletes in Australia that stuck their hand up and wanted to be involved in the four, and I'd come off the back of having an experience in the Australian 8 in '95 in Finland, and really enjoyed getting the opportunity to row in the national team for the first time, but we didn't get the result that we wanted to, and I was probably one of the young members and probably reasonably responsible for the lack of performance there due to a few things that happened overseas. So I was hell-bent on making amends for that, and I was very enthusiastic about giving the four a chance and being involved with those sort of guys and learning from them and stuff. So I was pretty much just waiting for my turn. If I was able to trial well enough, then I was able to do that. So got invited to join them and come down to Melbourne, and it all went from there.
You mentioned learning from those guys. Obviously, they were quite an experienced crew for, I think you were 20 or 21, to sort of step into that sort of a team environment. Has that helped you a lot for the remainder of your rowing career since then?
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to put up with all the flack certainly helps. Yeah, you develop a bit of resilience that way. No, look, I mean, seriously, for me, the years from '92 to '96, 92 was when I left school for my last year. And I pretty much spent most of those years, focusing on watching what the four had done in the past and asking as many questions from others about what they'd done. Training down here on the Yarra, and really, for me, it was all about, if there was ever going to be the opportunity to row with guys like that, that's what I wanted. I wanted the first-hand experience. So, getting a chance to be in the boat with them, instrumental in my career, I think. Understanding how they were doing it on the inside, it feels very different on the inside to what it looks like from the outside. And there's times where it's nowhere near as good as what it looks, and there's other times where it's much, much better in terms of the subtleties. So having that experience for that 12-month period, I think really set me up well.
2000, 25 years old, a pretty serious back injury. You had to sort of step back from the Sydney action. I'm sure not nice to look back on, but how tough was that for you on the sidelines?
I don't know that I stepped back. I think I got knocked on my ass, to be honest. Look, it was, at the time, if I'm to sort of go back and reflect on it, it was, at that time, it was the toughest thing I've been through. In terms of sport and in terms of the way my career, I suppose, in rowing had sort of panned out. Everything had been going really well, and you had sort of 12 months, of dealing with a back injury, and then it finally blew in Lucerne in Switzerland. So the toughest thing, but actually probably the best thing in my career too. You have the legacy of having a surgery and back injury, and you have the remnants of the heartache and depression of sitting around watching your event go past. But I also felt a lot of pride. So I was a part of the pair, and James and Matthew long went on and rowed and got silver, and I'd been a part of the team, so I still felt a connection to all that sort of stuff. And so the selfish side is I'm missing out. I remember that vividly, and the frustration of that. But the upside was that real sense of pride about what I'd seen happen and how many Australian crews performed well there. So I think that actually contributed a lot to me wanting to get back in 2004 once I realised it was possible. I mean, that was a key, I think.
So it formed its own motivation for you to deal with the injury, and more to the point probably training and dealing with the rehab. Well,
there was a couple of things. One, you let your teammate down, and so you're compelled to make amends for that if you can. And I never thought after I had surgery in 2000 that I'd ever be back rowing, so I'd sort of signed off on that. But as soon as James started talking about it, it made sense as to giving it a go. And so the motivation to get back and make what we had as a combination count and get it on the record was probably pretty key. And then the whole thing of not missing the opportunities. I mean, I'd been to '96 and had that experience, and probably never really fully appreciated how hard it was to get there. You watch a lot of athletes who don't make it or take a lot longer. So the 2000 thing was that bittersweet sort of element of going, right, well, if you're ever back there again, you're going to make it count for sure.
Well, focusing on the sweet, 2004, Athens, we spoke to James Tomkins on WCSN. He described it as a wonderful sense of achievement. He quoted your return from the back injury as a large reason as to how much it meant to him. What did that mean for you? And more to the point, can you describe that sense of accomplishment?
Yeah, there was, I think for us, you've got to understand that in 1999 we raced the fair for the first time internationally, and we felt that what we did at the World Championships was only part of the picture in terms of what we could actually do on the water. And so to have the disaster of 2000 meant that we just felt like we never really got to show our wares. And then to know that you have a back injury thrown in the mix, and to know what we went through for the 12 months, like it was a lot of ups and downs, and we were both there together with our coach Noel Donaldson, and so you're completely exposed to each other. There's nothing hidden, sort of thing. So we knew our weaknesses, and we knew what got us excited. We also knew what would bring us undone. So I think the 2004 experience was going back, getting a chance to put in place what we thought we could do, and doing it in such a way that meant that you weren't having the cost associated in terms of injuries and things. So we changed a lot of things, and I suppose there's a sense of relief as to getting the result, but that real satisfaction in a job that probably took 8 years to accomplish. And James coached me at school. So the amazing thing was that in the 4 I had that great connection there, but to actually work on a pair combination over that duration meant that we're 10 years apart in age, but we became really good friends as well.
As a crew partner, what's the differences between James and Duncan for you?
They're worlds apart in many respects. James, the simplest thing that I can use to describe him is he has a natural movement in the boat that's just mechanically just very, very sound, and he has a physiology, I think, that he's managed to get away with a lot of performances over the years where he hasn't had to push himself right to the limit. And so as a result, he's made it look easy, and so I like that. I think it's a great quality to have, but it's almost like it's an innate thing. And for me, he's very good at competition under pressure. He knows how to bring the right performance out, and he has that belief. Compare that to Dunks. I think Dunks is a very different athlete. I think the physicality of Dunks is extraordinary. Yeah. He's the strongest athlete I've ever rowed with in my life, and the only person that I've had in a pair where I've sat behind and thought, what, I'm actually having a hard time keeping the boat straight here. So, and you do all the little tricks a bow person can do, and so that for me was the real noticeable thing. He had unbelievable strength. Technically, he had a few things that he really had to work on, and what I admired about him was the fact that he was open to learning and changing. He'd been great in sculling and in sculling boats, and yet when he came across the sweep, he was like this little kid again. So to me, that was a quality I hadn't seen in other athletes, and even in James. So Dunks had that willingness and openness to try things from complete scratch. And I think the mental thing was James always had a belief in his capacity, and I think Dunks knew that he could get there, but didn't quite have the same deep down resolve. And so what I liked seeing in the 3 years was that real belief coming to the surface of it's not just hope, it's actually, I know how to do this now. And it's interesting seeing him go on in the sport at the moment. You can see that he's actually benefiting from those 3 years immensely.
A road that now hopefully leads to London. We're going to have to talk about it. I know...
Don't say my age, please.
No. Did you notice I didn't?
I appreciate that.
So, looking towards London, there must be lots of different things going through your mind, but surely there's a lot of excitement there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Look, there's only upside. It's I won't take any large steps that could bring me undone. And if that means I don't get there, I don't get there. So I think there's an element in me now which is I'm old enough and dare say I was stupid before, so I must be wiser now. I wouldn't say wise, but there's an element for me that I think I can do it, and I think I can do it better than before. And I like the idea of doing it with new people, and when I say new people, having a combination that's potentially got others in it that I haven't rowed with before. I'd love to row with Dunks again, obviously, but it'd be good to be in a bigger boat of some sort. But I'm realistic too in terms of where I'm at. I can't go moving my family and relocating for large periods of time. Probably can't spend large periods of time overseas. So it's. I mean, right now I'm probably further back than fullback when it comes to the starting point, compared to where most athletes are at. So I know that there's a huge improvement curve that needs to take place in terms of my physical side of things. But I believe I've got the motivation, and I like the idea of being able to find a combination even better than I've been in before.
But you're not rowing every day?
No, but I haven't been rowing every day since 2000. No, seriously.
Is that a goal?
Is that
a goal?
To row every day? No, the goal is to be able to row 3 or 4 times a week. If I can row 3 or 4 times a week, I can go to the games, I believe. It may not be ideal for national team selection and all that sort of stuff, because other athletes might want something else. So they have to be flexible. But Dunks and I, we were on the water, I think five sessions a week. We were doing more bike time than we were doing anything else and doing other land sessions. So for me, it's about being smarter. I don't think being on the water is going to be my inhibiting factor.
Yeah.
I think long term it'll be just how the body keeps recovering from sessions like that. And it's finding new ways of doing things. You're not used to it the same way.
Speaking of new ways of doing things, I checked out your online blog.
There you go.
Very frank, very open,
yes,
very public, and very honest. Is it therapeutic for you to write that sort of stuff and get it off your chest?
Yeah, I don't see. There's no fear or threat in regards to me putting that sort of stuff out. I've had others sort of say to me, "Oh, well, how can you write that sort of stuff?" I write in a fashion which sometimes is just a stream of thought, and so it's not clear and it may not make sense, and probably the spelling's really poor and grammar's terrible and all that sort of stuff. My dad tells me that anyway. It's therapeutic from that perspective as to I think it's a journal. Not everything I put in there is what I've captured down in my own sort of writing, my own sort of journaling, but I think as an athlete it's critical. That's how I get clarity on things. I also like the idea of sort of sharing a bit of the inside sort of world or mindset of what's going on for us. I think too many, I wouldn't say, I'd probably generalise, but I think too many people hold up a facade as to everything's right, everything's perfect. So if I'm having a bad day, I'm happy to write about it. And I'm also happy to write about things we're trying as well. I think it's good for the sport that way. I don't think we can keep things secret. I think we've got to help each other in the sport to be better.
Quoting from the blog, you wrote, "The idea of going around again appeals, but the worry of what might happen is vivid in your mind." Have you ever poured so much mental energy into your rowing before this Olympics campaign of trying to get to London?
I haven't even begun yet.
Yeah.
I haven't even started yet. So when I start, I become obsessive, and my wife is enjoying me at the moment at home. So look, I think that's probably the danger, and in fact, that's one of the concerns. Is that once I found I start to switch on to that, that's when you start to maybe not take notice of some of the indicators and signals in terms of body or whatever you're doing in training. So that's what I'm going to try to keep aware of, is just managing myself a bit better that way. Look, I felt at the end of Beijing, I felt mentally and emotionally exhausted. We'd been through everything. I'm sure Dunks was the same, Chris O'Brien was the same. So to me, your performance has to have that. You've got to have nothing left, and then that very first week after the competition it's almost like that thing of just realising that you're now empty. And you celebrate, but you're also celebrating on empty. So and it's not being tired empty. It's just you've got nothing to offer people. And so I haven't even begun to really invest that sort of time and energy into it yet.
So linking those two ideas together, there's a bit under 2 years to go leading up to London, and you're saying that the journey hasn't really begun for you. However, there's an end point time-wise. Surely you'll miss all that one day. Surely one day when the type of personality that you are doesn't have something like that on the horizon, you'll miss it.
Oh yeah, I'll always be. Look, you can talk to my wife about this. I can't sit still. So while I was off, I was doing a bit of bike riding, even though with my back. I'll do things like try to ride for 24 hours on the bike, so ride through the night.
Eat lots of Snickers.
Yeah, have a sausage roll or two at the BP service station in Frankston if I need to. No, look, there's things in my mind. So I'll give you an example. James Cracknell. I've known James since way back in sort of led up to 2000 and stuff. And I really admire what James is doing outside of his sport. He's fueling that thing inside of himself, which is to explore his capacity and all that sort of stuff. And I know he's had some extreme experiences, and he's recently been knocked off a bike and all that sort of stuff. And I think people like that, and I feel the same. I just don't think you can sit still. I don't think you can sit back and take it easy and just let life pass by. For me, you've got to create opportunities, and no one sets those sort of challenges up. I mean, we don't have to go to the Olympic Games. You don't have to, row across the Atlantic. You don't have to do any of these things. You don't have to climb Mount Everest. As far as I'm concerned, you do it because you want to do it. And we're not in a sport where we get paid millions of dollars or anything like that. Well, that'd be nice. So for me, I'll always be doing stuff like that. So if I'm not rowing, I'll always be finding challenges of some sort to stretch myself and stretch people around me.
A different type of medal that you've received is the OAM, the Medal of Order of Australia. described as according recognition to Australian citizens for achievement. What did this mean to you, and where's the medal?
To be honest, I feel uncomfortable about that. I don't actually think what I did as a sports person in '96 justifies that sort of recognition.
Wow.
In terms of getting it, it is a huge honour. But I got it at a stage where I didn't fully comprehend and appreciate. I don't put OAM at the end of my name or anything like that. And I know other people who are much more deserving do that. I can see the reason for that.
Yeah.
I think it's a great honour, but I think handing it out just to sports people for gold medals has no justification as to how they've lived their life or how they're having influence on the community. To me, those things show value and recognition for so much more than just a result. And no one sat down and said, what else have you done?
Yeah.
So that's where I sort of feel uncomfortable. It's like receiving an award that is based on some sort of criteria that you've never really lived up to. Being nominated by your peers for something, that's all nice sort of stuff. But I think OAMs, I see people and I go, yep, they deserve it. Yeah. They've done it. I feel like I've done a lot more now. If someone was turning around now, I'd go, yep, I've done a lot more in the community beyond just the sport. So maybe in retrospect you go, it is deserving in time, but at that time it sort of felt just awkward. I mean, I was 21. I've given that to me for. Where is it? It's in a little box packed away in a bag. And I haven't brought it out or used it anyway.
What about the gold medals? Where are they?
They're in a sock.
I thought we were going to go up a notch.
No, they're in a sock. No, hey mate, I'm real. It's as simple as if I'm doing a school visit or I have a client engagement or whatever it is, and they say, "Can you bring the medals along?" I've got no qualms with that. To me, the medals are about something beyond what we are as athletes. They're symbolic of something else in the sport, and so the chance to hand those to people and see them just lighten up, that's really cool. Hand it to kids, and they've got all sorts of questions about medals and what you do as an athlete and all that sort of stuff. So that's an experience that we get to have. And so they sit in a sock, and they usually sit in the drawer at the kitchen table, and they're accessible. Except for when my son Jasper goes and hides them in the toy box or something.
Very popular with his friends.
That's it.
You mentioned the community work that you've done. I've read up on a lot of it. Just tell us a bit about where you're involved in at the moment.
Look, the United Way in Geelong, I'm involved with the corporate regatta down there. It's this year, 13 years they've been involved, or they've been going, and I think I've done as patron for it 7 years, and we look to raise $1 million now over the 13 years, which is extraordinary this year, and they raise about $120,000 a year, and so I laugh, like I play, as a patron for that you play such a small role, but I go down to the launches, I go down to the regattas, and you do what you can to make everyone, see the linkages between going and having a charity row and what happens in the community in terms of funds they raise. Kids Foundation I've helped with over the years. Blue Earth was another organisation I worked with Nick Green for a while. Pretty much any group that's ever come to me, I'll do what I can to help out, given time and all that sort of stuff. And
you're in trouble now.
But that's okay. Like I think as athletes, that's part of the burden.
Yeah, right.
I say burden, but it's actually part of the responsibility. It's part of the thing you got to know comes when you have a result or a profile. Something, and I don't even have a profile in Australia really when it comes to sport. It's minor. So for me to be able to help out in any way that makes a difference in anyone's lives is huge.
Sure. What is it that you love so much about rowing?
What is it? Water. Yeah.
Because you're a surfer as well. You like to surf a lot.
That was the first experience was, okay, well I'm here in boarding school. I can't be out in the surf and going for a surf. I'd been swimming, and then I had a teacher put me in a boat. I think it was just being able to go near water. And even though people talk about the Yarra River, all sorts of things about whether I think it's clean or not, it's actually a really nice place. Yeah. So water, and I think the other one is that real intimacy you develop with your crewmates. And that's not that you develop with every crewmate, but certainly the ones that you get to work with on a plan. And it's physical. There's something about doing physical. You get feedback straight away. There's no agenda in the boat. Like there's no politics. There's no whispers. There's no stuff going on that's just stuff that gets in the way of so many people's lives. You get on the water and it's as normal and as real as it can be. You either go fast or go slow, and you can't hide from it.
I imagine that there's a lot of similarities between rowing and cycling, which obviously you sort of transferred a lot of your attention towards, but also has been a big part of your rowing career as well.
Yeah.
What are maybe some of the differences that you found when you took up cycling a bit more seriously that you might not have realised were involved in that sport?
I didn't probably understand just the nature of the teams and the various connections, and it's actually more about sort of who you know on the bike than what I ever thought. You know? And that's not to discredit performances, but there seems to be it's a lot about, you know, knowing the right sort of people and knowing when people are going to go and getting a nod, getting a look from someone, all that sort of stuff. And if you don't have that understanding of what's going on in the bunch, you miss out on opportunities very quick. And teams and groups of riders will work together. And you know, as a novice rider, I didn't pick up on that sort of stuff. So that's a key difference. And for me, sort of the other key difference is just the standard sort of stuff. You've got such a range of standards from the international guys right the way down to the club guys. And I think coming into the sport from outside, I sort of probably assumed that you'd see the club standard as one thing, you'd see the best Australian riders, but maybe below the best international riders as another standard than the best international riders. And the lines were nowhere near as clear as that for me. And in rowing, it's clear. You know, when you're rowing at club level, you know what the level is. When you're rowing at state and national level, that's clear. When you're rowing at international level, it's quite clear. Yeah. There are subtleties, but I've actually gotten used to the idea of going, right, this is an international regatta. You know what you're required to get up and perform in it, and you know what's going to be, you know what's going to come your way in terms of competition. Cycling's just so much variety, you know, and so much going on the road. The similarities though, if you've got an engine, you're going to go half decent. If you don't know how to ride your bike, or if you don't know about politics of the bunch, then you're never going to get anywhere. So you can have the engine but not get anywhere. So for me, I love it. I did BMX racing as a kid.
Oh, okay.
So you know, that was my first experience of being on bikes, and we've used lots of bike riding and training. But I wouldn't call myself a cyclist as such. You know, I'm quite comfortable with the fact that I'm a rower who rides a bike. You know, and I might be able to go okay, but you know, the guys that are really good are really good.
Finally, do you think you'll always remain quite close to the sport of rowing, even when maybe not competing at that international level?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Big part of it for me is the experience I had coming down to Mercantile Rowing Club in 1993, and I think I sort of really valued the idea of here was a location, like many clubs, here was a location that I could walk into, meet people, see a pathway. You know, you had to show initiative, you had to have motivation yourself, but you walk in the door, and if you want to get on the water and do the training, you can make it. So and I think there's not a lot of sports that are that open. You know, so the difficult thing is walking into the club for the first time. It's overwhelming. But once you're into a club, you know, you start to realise that certain people have done certain things, and you can see the history, and you can, you know, there's a gym there and there's boats there, and I like the fact that you can get access to all that. And so I'll definitely stay involved in, you know, certainly with my club, happy to stay involved in rowing. I'll probably meet up with different athletes at different times when they're developing, and you know, I'll tend to sort of not want to waste any time. I'd rather challenge them in terms of why they're doing the sport and what they want to get out of it, rather than just sort of sitting there and being nice to them. So for me, it's about making sure that people can see the reality of what they're embarking upon, and if they want it, they can make it, that's for sure.
Well, Drew, we know you're very busy. We appreciate your time on WCSN. We'll let you get back to everything else that's going on. Good luck with the lead up to London.